We are proud, honored, and delighted to have back with us tonight the Yadkin County nerd himself, Mr. Bud Vestal.
Well, thank you. I was here in May, and he introduced me as a nerd, and I'm back, and he's still introducing me as a nerd. And I guess he told the truth then, and I guess he's telling the truth now. I'm not a transplant. I've lived within 50 miles of here all of my life, and I know what it's like to grow. I don't know about New Jersey, but I know what it's like to grow up as a nerd in backwoods Yadkin County. My name's Bud. It's really Richard, but mercifully I'm called Bud. And I'm serious. I would not take $1 million for the name Bud. I absolutely love that name. I just met you. Your name is Russell, right? Okay. In Yadkin County in 1950, when the first child was due into the home, you only looked up girls' names because there was no question what you were going to name the guy. You were going to name the boy after his dad. So if you had a son in 1950 in Yadkin County, there wasn't any question. He was named Russell. That left the question of what are you going to call the kid? They did all kinds of creative stuff. They called him Junior, or they went by his initials, or they gave him, if you were lucky like me, you got a generic nickname. You got a Bud or a Bucky or a Buster. Somehow they all started with a B, sometimes double B, Bobo, Bubba. If you were a lucky one like me, you got one of those generic nicknames. If you weren't lucky, they called the son and the dad by the same name, preceded by Big and Little. Big and Little Richard would have been bad enough. But nobody knew my dad as Richard. You got it. You're ahead of me. You're way ahead of me. They all called him Dick. I mean, how would you like to be the kid that had to get up and go to the board when the teacher said, "Little Dick, you go work next problem"? I thought I was going to get to keep that name all my life. But I got to first grade. And, I mean, you know, if you survived an elementary school teacher in the 50s, you were ready for the Army or anything. There were no nicknames permitted. And so all the kids that I played with took on new names. Red was suddenly Harold, and Fats was Jimmy, and WC was William. And it came down to me. I was ready to tell her my name was Richard because I knew she wasn't going to let me be Bud. And Bud Vestal, what's your name? But I was getting ready to say Richard. And she said, "Wait a minute. I know you. I taught your daddy." I would have sworn she taught my granddaddy too, but I didn't say that. "You must be Little Dick." How is Big Dick anyway? So there's the start to my school career. I'm skinny. I really was. I was littler than all the other kids. I had a perpetually runny nose. I had ugly glasses. And I now have the name Little Dick. Now, what chance did I have in school? I asked you, what chance did I have in school? Big Dick had told me about his school days. He told me about women. He told me about sports. He told me about all those things that I knew was not going to be part of my school days. And always there was this story about walking 4 miles one way to get to school in all kinds of weather. Didn't matter what the weather was. There wasn't no school buses. We had to walk, and we walked all the way there. We walked all the way home. And he told me other stories too. And of course, I was already feeling inferior because, you know, I was a skinny kid in a school full of lumberjacks. By the money crop in 1950 was tobacco, and by 4th grade, every kid smoked Camel Unfilters. Every boy in the class, well, most of them. The ones that didn't smoke Camel Unfilters were trying to quit and had switched to Red Man chewing tobacco. But he was telling me about his story, his school days. He told me about that big walk. And I don't know, it's about 2nd or 3rd grade. I'm out in the yard playing, and things are just not adding up. I've got my ball glove, and I've got my little rubber ball, and I'm playing. And I'm remembering these stories. And so I asked him, I said, Big Dick, where did you live anyway? Live right here where you're living right now. My daddy built that house. We've never lived anywhere else. Is there more than one school here in Jonesville? How can there be more than one school here in Jonesville? It's a little bitty town. And the reason I was questioning everything is because the way I was playing ball was standing in my side yard, throwing the ball up against the school building, and catching it in my glove. The old Jonesville gym that's not there anymore, it's a parking lot. I was standing in my yard throwing it against the school building. You didn't talk back to your dads in those days. You just absolutely did not talk back. I wanted to say, you mean I could throw the ball 4 miles? And you hadn't got me a tryout with the Yankees yet. But, I was a nice little nerdy kid. I didn't say anything, but I was mad. I was mad at all hell. I was just as mad as a little kid can get. I was not mad that he had made up those stories. I mean, didn't your dad tell you the same thing? Did your dad or your granddad one told you stories about how far he had to walk to school in all kinds of weather? That didn't really make him mad. What made him mad was he got to be Big Dick. Yeah, think about that. If what he called 4 miles really turned out to be right next door, what do you reckon what he called 9 inches really turned out to be? And I had to be little big. I was mad. I understood things a little bit better. I had grown up with my mom. I knew she was smart. I knew she was really more intelligent than some of the dumb things she said. Now I realized it was that con job that Big Dick ran on her all those years. Grandma would come over, and they'd snap beans, and she'd say to my mom, how long do you want those beans broke? Oh, about 9 inches, be about right. I expect Grandma to say something. She said, okay, that sounds good. And I just lost it. Hell, how many generations of you women been being conned anyway? What do they call Granddad? Great big dick? They just looked at each other. What's wrong with little Dick? Nerd attack, it'll pass. Little Dick, did you forget to take your medicine today? Go take your medicine.